So this workshop is supposed to start by 2, and then there's another panel session that's supposed to start now, but I'm going to try my best to talk about producing in a concise time so that at least we're left with some value. How many of us here have produced anything? How was it for you?
Challenging.
Was that your first time producing and only time, or you produced multiple times?
I produced multiple times.
Okay. So I like to have like my classes or my workshops very interactive, right? So I would want to ask you, what would you say, or who would you say producer is?
Somebody that is in charge of putting everything together to make the creatives to basically foster an environment and a group of people to work together to bring about a film.
Wow, ChatGPT is working in your head. No, don't mind me, because obviously like that's a very good description. But there's something I always say everywhere that I talk about producing, and I say that a producer, no matter how rich or how big you think you are, you're a house girl or a houseboy. That's who you really are, because the truth is, in a house, you never really tell when things are wrong, especially when there's an effective house girl in the house or housemaid in the house. She gets the house is always clean. Wow, you will not know. Do you understand? So yeah, producing is basically what he said. But you, as a producer, you have to be responsible. It's like giving birth to a child, right? You can't just somehow get pregnant, give birth, and abandon that child. It's a child that you have to nurture. It's a child that you have to take care of from start to finish, to the child graduates, and all of that. So what do I mean? Producing is basic. Most people who say producing is in 3 different phases: pre-production, production, post-production. But I like to say that it is in 5 phases, right? We're starting all the way from idea conceptualization now to pre-production, and then production, post-production, and then distribution. Sometimes it might even be 6 because there's post-distribution, because at the end of the day, you're not just distributing one time, especially if it's a project that you did not just make for one platform, right? So let's start from the very beginning, idea conceptualization. What's the role of a producer in that context? There are some projects that you find that the producer is the owner of that idea, right? And he will basically, or she will basically come up with an idea and say, well, I want to make a film. And now this person now proceeds to work with a writer to make sure that this story or idea is something physical that we can take into pre-production, right? So idea conceptualization is just basically coming up with the idea or the concept of what you want to produce, the end product. So I will use myself now and this film that we have all watched. Conceptualization for me was at a Ford Foundation workshop. We were tasked to come up with an idea for a film that we wanted to make, and then a few people were going to win a grant to make the film, right? So I took myself as the producer and as the idea, I came up with the idea. And then still in that workshop, I got my writer, Ozioma Obaji, and we went into writing or coming up with a pitch deck for the film. That is what conceptualization is basically. It's not anything crazy. Writing of the scripts, the logo. I don't like to use like big lamba or big, very big. I try to make my stories or whatever it is I want to say very relatable, right? So then we now go all the way down to production. So production is you basically, everything like you made in that script, you now have to plan properly, like into details, everything you will need for production, right? So now, pre-production, I would always use very layman terms. It's like you deciding that you want to cook food, and You go into your kitchen, there's no food stuff. You know you want to make jollof rice. What are the things that are needed to make jollof rice? That's basically what pre-production is. You start putting down your list together. If you don't know how to cook jollof rice, you now have to start bringing in the different people that know how to make jollof rice. Oh, do you need a chef? Do you need someone that's going to serve? Do you need someone that's going to be your kitchen assistant? That's all you're doing in production. Now you make your market list and then you take it into the market. You buy every single thing that you need, you come back and then you start to cook. That cooking phase is production. But in pre-production, I always believe that people make a whole lot of mistakes during pre-production. They think it's time for fapping around. But that's basically the core of your job as a producer. In pre-production, that is when you're thinking, what kind of food are my crew members going to eat? Where are they going to stay? What costume is this? What costume is this actor going to wear? What location are we going to film at? What does the set designed already? Like, you're going down into detail. I wouldn't say detail, like it's something as little as what biro is going to be on this set. Do you understand? Because you cannot be saying that you're making a film for like a billionaire and you know all these billionaires, there's this very sleek pen that they use and then you're bringing big. It's in pre-production that you decide all of those tiny details. You're not, see, I always say that you know a good producer from how absent they are on set. And sometimes people believe that producers have to be on set like 90% of the time, but if you've done your job as a producer in production, you can comfortably sleep in your house when shoot is going on. You think otherwise? Yeah, because the truth is, if you did your job, if you did your homework as a producer, nobody's going to look for you on set. Nobody. You just need to know, okay, you guys are ready to move to this new scene, right? What are the things that, this is everything that is required. And at the end of the day, nobody's saying, oh, the barrier that was supposed to use for this scene is not available, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. A good producer has already thought 10 steps ahead and made sure that there's no fire to be put out. See, that's your job. People say, oh, job of a producer is to put out fire. No, it is to make sure that there's no fire that comes up. I once worked on a project where I was producing, and then I had some PMs and PAs on set. And sometimes they'll come and meet me where I am, that is everything okay, that they're not doing anything, that they're just, understand, okay, what do you want to do now? Has anybody called for production department? I say no. I said, good. So what again do you need? They're like, if this is how I'm producing this, so this is how I want to be working. But that's what producing really is. You just have to make sure that fires never come up for you to put out, right? And you also have to think 10 steps ahead for, potential fire. And when fire comes up, your job as a producer is to make sure that everybody around doesn't know that there's a fire. But you find that there's some sense that you note everybody's running up and down. Do you understand? Because, something was not available. It is absolute madness for you to faff around as a producer during pre-production and expect that you will do gurus the answer during production. In production, there's no job for the producer. That's what I always see. Then after production, your job now during production is to make sure this thing that we're supposed to go there. The job of the producer is to tell them this is the next place you're going to. These are the things that you need for this next place that you're going to. Do you understand? There's no, everything has to be seamless. So far, you're doing your job as a producer. That's basically it. So your job as a producer is 90% of it is in pre-production, and post-production to a large extent. If you only do your job as a producer, you should not have a problem during post-production because you've gotten capable hands. It's not that you don't come and bring robots to the answer. You know how to edit. Can you also do sound editing? No. Can you also do this? Can you also do that? You're expecting one person to handle all of these things. So how do you now expect that the jollof rice that you cooked, the king can eat it? Except you want to do, I'm sorry. Except you want to do one of these shabby, YouTube productions where, there are some YouTube productions that are really good, but then there are some that are really shabby that you're just like, was anybody thinking on this set? Except you just want to make something and just drop it and let's just be like, okay, yes, I made a film, and then you now come and start giving struggle stories. Oh, on this project, no, we did not have any money, we did not do this, but we were able to do this. I even sold my car, my house, I did all that drama. But yeah, please, as I'm speaking, can you guys ask me questions? Let us make it very conversational.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to know, you mentioned that producer is like house boy / house girl.
Yeah.
What would you call the first thing?
The first age is a slave. So let's say in the kitchen hierarchy, there's the steward, maybe the house manager that's also sort of a house help. House manager is the house producer. Then so yeah, you know that the AD is not actually in the director's team. The AD is actually in the production department. Do you know that? Okay. So the ADs are actually under production. In as much as their name is assistant director, right? But they are under production, like in the hierarchy of things, right? Basically what they're supposed to do is to make sure that the set is moving for the director. Do you understand? So in as much as there are some ADs that become directors, right? Because in as much as when you're helping a director make sure everything that they're doing, sometimes you're also picking up things. There are some ADs that are career ADs that might never be able to direct anything. Do you understand? Because your job as an AD, you're handling logistics. You're handling people. Most ADs never direct anything. Sorry, please. I have people that used to be career ADs and are now directors. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
For different people,
Yeah.
for directors, it's almost like it's the way for you to work in the system. You don't understand, for not necessarily right.
Yeah.
So you're right to say that career ADs, and they are also ADs, just that one aspect depends on who you originally I know for myself, originally I get it.
Yeah.
So I want to speak for that. So come now and director and discover somewhere. And somewhere go to that get directed. That's not even doing depends on the path. And also that I get I feel like 6 11. I think it's doing 8 like you what next week is something. But never directed, never was directed.
Yeah. So they are career AD. So if you decide that you want to be an AD, so you see that for that looking for the best step to become a director, I usually advise that you become the script supervisor. For me, that's the swiftest and the easiest way, because that way you're paying a lot of attention to what the ADs might not actually be paying attention to. ADs, their own is, guys, let's move, we have to shoot, we have to do this. When people are supposed to be in this team, go and get ready. This is the costume you are supposed to wear. So that's basically production. Do you understand? So yeah. Please, what other questions?
They're not involved in any form of creativity.
Well,
They're not really involved in any form of creativity, I think.
yeah.
So, yeah, like we say, being a scripty would be the best because the scripty works hand in hand with the director at the same same time, you get to follow the Bible and hold that image in the spirit. And I suppose, yeah, you have to direct something to my concern or understand the script better. So,
Yeah. I wish this was like a workshop on directing. I would have had so much fun. I now only produce for myself and my friends because, again, house girl work. You cannot do producing work for people that you do not like. You want to pull your hair out of your scalp. So now that
My question is, as a producer,
Because as I say, one of the first people to, in terms of organizing the project, how do you work on the trust? Because I've been on a set where and there was no time this producer came up and said, we should do some technical members were ready to sweat their blood for this producer, right? In with all the wahala that was happening on set, this person did not say do this thing, and it was just this leadership. If the producer said A, everybody believed that A was it. And so I've also been on a set where the producer is talking, everybody saying, you need to look around the room and know that everybody thinks, everybody will know that they're lying. And crew members intentionally sabotage the production. So when I get my question is, how do you assemble? Because I don't think if I ever put that on, people know my forte. So that's why I'm not that good to get to say people. But how do you find people who trust? That's one. Because sometimes it's not about I need to love rice analogy. It's not really about who knows how to. There's how an angry person will give food to not take it. No matter how good the food is. No matter how hungry you are, the person will give you the like that. So how do you work? So working with a lot of personalities, both the ones that have sense, the ones that they train well, and the ones that will not train well from where they come from. So I'm being someone, because I'm thinking, sometimes when an actor is sleeping mad, I will tell them, I'm not the one that employed you. I'll go and call you. There's sometimes I feel so bad. Because they know what that person for them to defend. So how do you first trust? You can find people trust between crew members. Then how do you find them and something? And when it comes to a point where it's not working, do you just tell me your process in the director just people who know that when you're holding the when you keep at your hand and they take it, and you just I feel like filmmaking is a one way that turns and every stroke needs to work together for it. So if there's no trust, there's no doubt pull up and the people will not talk about it.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a question in there.
Okay, so I'll first talk about myself and how I am when other people, call me for work. If from our first conversation about the project, I don't feel at ease, I will not take it. This is me as a producer now. If someone calls me, please come produce. I will not take it if I'm not feeling the vibe. If from the very first conversation there's already some, will I say, a hint of uncertainty, or there's already vibe like I cannot trust you, I will not take the job. So it almost translates into how I employ people to work on projects with me, right? And I don't just employ very randomly, I will also ask questions, right? Most of the projects that I've worked on, a lot of my crew are repeats. But then there are some departments that I just, say, okay, this person comes highly recommended by someone that I know, so okay, I can actually work with this person. But as far as my relationship with directors and DPs go, as a producer, for me, producer and director, you pride in marriage. And I always say, if at the end of the production, people are not accusing me of being in a relationship with my director or being besties with my director, then I think I have done a bad job, because the truth is, there's a lot of things that you and like that the producer or the director might not, be seeing, but it takes someone that already sees them as a partner to have that kind of conversation with them. Even in terms of budget, I think producers. I generally believe that we, as producers, you need to be very honest and as open with your heads of department, because these are the people that are basically going to work with you. A lot of producers believe that you need to conceal how much budgets that you really have, but the truth is, not these people are aware that for this project we have maybe 50 million. They would even be the ones to help you cut costs in like different areas. Do you understand? Especially when you're employing people that have sense on your project. Do you get? They will be the ones to help you say, okay, this is 50 million that we have. Instead of us to put 1 million here, let's put 200 here. We'll try and make it work. Then let's put 800 here because it will show more on the production value of the film. So I believe that as producers, you need to be a trustworthy person, first of all, before you even start looking for people that you can trust. Because a lot of people have been burnt from working with people that they sort of trusted, and the person eventually went ahead and did them dirty. So if you can, not even if you can, you need to be a trustworthy person as a producer. You need to have shame. You need to have shame. You need to have open and honest conversation with people that you're creating this project with, so that they know the extent to which they can splurge or help you save costs. Or because at the end of the day, your goal is to produce a project that looks good to people that you're going to be very proud of. So if you're not doing anything that you're proud of, you might as well not even venture into producing anything, because imagine you do a work and when the movie comes on, you're already like, oh, well, I beg, I don't think they do that. Do you understand? Like, you don't even post it. Maybe like the movie might be in I'm sorry, so I've worked on a project. But then I was part of the crew as a PM. They were doing like a whole lot of promo for this project. And Allah, truth to God. The most I could give that project was to post on my story. I couldn't even post it on my feed. And the producer called me and was changing it for me. That how can you be this, that, you're not posting the project? I said, sir.
What's your face? So crazy. How do you reply to that?
I don't say, sir. It is everything that you say. But yeah. As far as producing goes, is there any particular question that anyone here has to ask me? Before I go on to
Sorry, can you help me?
No, distribution actually.
The mic. So, you mentioned 5 different aspects of filmmaking, post-production, processing. I think the last one you really haven't spoken was about the distribution, which I think also is where a producer is also very, very handy and important.
Yeah.
Finding partners, co-producers, and as well as a path for the film to be shown or seen as well. So what has worked for you in terms of distribution? Also, how do you tell where you feel like a film should end up?
Okay, so I really like that question, and in as much as we think distribution is the last phase of production, but that's literally one of the first things you decide before you start making your film, right? So you might decide that you want to take, so let's say you're making a short film now. You know that your short film is not going to the cinema, except you just want to, your short film is exceptionally good and you want to buy out a slot or something, or you talk to distributors and say, I know it's a short film, but I still want to push it for cinema, blah, blah, blah. So there's this thing I usually ask when people come to me to say, let's work on a project. I ask them certain questions. What does this project need? Right? What's your reason for making this film? Is it to make money? Is it to make an impact? Or is it to make a name for yourself? Right? So with the moral high court, I was making it to make an impact. It wasn't really to make money. Right? So it means that if I'm releasing the moral high court, I might as well just drop it on YouTube or maybe talk to NTA and say, you can have my film for distribution, I don't really care about money. Do you understand? But if you're saying that you want to make money out of this film that you are making now, it means that your distribution strategy, you've already decided it from the very beginning, right? So people that are going to make money from their films, they already know, okay, I'm going to go into the cinema, I'm going to maybe take it to streaming platforms if you have that opportunity. So that way, you now know, okay, what distribution company can I work with to get the best results for this film? As far as Nigeria is concerned now, our major distributors are now Film One, Genesis, and Cinemax, of which these 4 distribution companies already have like different approaches to how they distribute their films. So if you're looking for, the one that will give you the fastest money, the fastest entrance into anywhere, everyone knows that it's Film One, right? If you're looking for a distribution company that most likely cares about your project in a different way, you're probably going to go with Nile and Cinemax because they are more filmmaker focused as opposed to being, money focused. Do you understand? So you have to start deciding that from the very beginning. So when you've even done your project, your idea conceptualization, you prepared your story bible, from that moment you start reaching out to, before your script is even ready, you start reaching out to distribution companies. Right? So now the distribution company might tell you, okay, the budget for this film now is probably 200 million naira. And you now as a producer of this film, maybe initially from your initial plan, you wanted to make it with like a 50, 60 million. They will tell you, okay, let's partner with you. We're going to own a part of your film. So you're going to now do a co-production with this distribution company. And, so that way you're sort of guaranteed that you will now have like ownership in this business together. Do you understand? So distribution is you decide it from the very beginning. You're not just, it's not, and that's a mistake that a lot of filmmakers make, that they make their films and when the film is ready, they now start thinking, oh, where am I going to distribute? Do you get? So you find sometimes that they will take it to film festivals. Not all films are film festival material. Do you understand? You're not going to take an Everybody Loves Jennifer to an Afif. That's already, they've already made their film for distribution in the cinema and not, for film festivals. But then you find that it's the other way around. Some people are making their films, and when the film is ready, they're like, okay, let's just take it to film festivals. Hopefully, someone will see it and say they like it and, buy it from there. But you're sort of already setting up yourself for failure because it's not everybody that even gets selected into film festival one. Not everybody might even see your film at the film festival. So you might not even find the right people to network with to get your film. So you have to now start deciding from the beginning. I don't know if anybody is friends with people that did The Legend of the Vagabond Queen. I'm hearing that they're going on YouTube. Yeah. Do you understand? So imagine going all the way from all the festivals and everything, and then you're now going to distribute on YouTube. So I'm not saying that that's like a bad producing call, because at the end of the day, they might know what they're doing. Do you understand? So there are some people that now make their films and they know from the very beginning, this film is a YouTube film. So that will now help you decide what your budget for this film is going to be like. So you now see why I say it has to be, your distribution plan or strategy has to be something that comes before you've even done your script. If you're going to the cinema from your script, you can now start writing extravagant characters. That, okay, we're going to, our house is going to be one mansion with 25 bedrooms, Do you get? But if you're doing film for YouTube, which mansion first of all? If you don't pass your parlor, living room, car, road, do you get things that you can easily have access to? So, yeah. What other question do you have? Or have I answered the question?
You've answered most of it. I was asking what has worked for you.
What has worked for me?
Yeah.
Problem D. I make my films for impact. I'm not one of those filmmakers that are commercial. So it's either I'm being commissioned to make a documentary, so that means they're paying me and I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing and I'm giving it to them to do whatever it is I'm doing. Or I'm making my film for impact, which I usually would do film festivals and then YouTube because I want everybody to watch it. You get it? Eventually, I may now start thinking of making films for money, maybe next year. But right now, I'm more impact. And the truth is, sometimes when you're making films for impact, the truth is that money can also come with it. You get it? Sometimes, it's not every time. Sometimes money can come with it. So maybe an NGO now for this film, I know that we screened at some program and we're giving money for the screening of the film. Do you understand? So there are different pathways to this thing. There are some film festivals that will pay you to screen your film. Do you get it? So yeah.
Also win awards.
Huh?
So you can also win awards.
And yeah, you can win awards, you can, so there's some, things like that. But if you, I mean, what has worked for me, I make my film for everybody. I don't want to start making film for money. I can give you a different answer. Okay.
Speaking of money, how do you approach it? How do you get funding and how do you deal with budgets? Which is, of course, like very difficult and getting negotiating, all of that.
Okay, so let's talk about getting money to make your film in the first place. The truth is, there's an EP in every room you enter. It just matters how well you're able to sell your story or your ideas to them. Everyone in this room here now can be your EP for whatever project that you want to do. You just have to know how to package what you want to sell. Do you get? So if you're making a film about I don't know. Trying to take it.
And less about commercial.
Yeah.
So this and EPI, we're talking more with them. Even they want to return on investment.
Yeah, so now that depends. So you see now for me, because I make my films for impact, I'm not just going to now meet anybody or someone that is now focused on trying to make their money back. They have to be aligned with my vision. Do you understand? They have to be people that would also want to do things just for people to benefit from it, not because they are very profit focused. Do you get it? So it now depends. So again, like I said, you ask yourself, this film, am I making it for impact? Am I making it to make money? Am I making it to make a name for myself? Making a name for yourself, I never have fund that film by yourself. But if you're trying to make money, you can always come up with your pitch them, find one or two people in this room, pitch your story to them, and if they like it, they would come on board. Do you understand? There's no specific place where you go and get an EP from. You can meet anybody, it can be a bank. You just need to, so when you're now going the route of commercial, you need to show people how you intend to make your money back. Do you understand? No, it's never really guesswork, because the truth is, if you're making food that you want to sell, you know who you're going to sell to for you to make your money back. So it's not guesswork. Do you understand? So let's say now you're making your film to make money, right? You've now told this person that I am going to take this film to the cinema. What steps have you made to take this film to the cinema? Have you spoken to the distribution company? Are they on board? So it makes it easier to have a conversation with a potential EP to say, okay, this story or this idea that I have, I've gotten film wants to come on board as my distribution partners. So that means you're now guaranteed that you're going to get your cinema slots and you're going to go to streaming after your cinema clinical has been done. Do you understand? So it's not guesswork. You just have to be very intentional about it from the very beginning. If you want to go the route of selling merch, if you want to go the route of taking your film to universities to screen, do you understand? So it is not guesswork. You have to treat your film like a product if you're going in to make money. Why do you think Funke Akindele makes billions at the end of every year? She starts working her films like for a month before it's actually time. Do you understand? So nobody is like, if you're very intentional, you have to work your film like a product. You're not, it's not one of those where they say, oh, good markets, they sell itself. No.
So what about budget? You are approaching
Yeah.
How do you discuss budget?
You, like, you've created your script. Do you not know how much it will take you to make the film?
Or like,
Yeah, but at least maybe have a ballpark. Have something to say, okay, it's going to take me 200 million. Like, even if the market is going to change, do you understand? So if the market is changing, it's not changing by 1 million. If something was going to cost 300,000, do you get? It's not going to add 1 million on top overnight. Do you understand? So you would have done your groundwork for a lot of things. So let's say you want to make a film about a whole family, maybe a dysfunctional family where everything happens in one location. You first of all find, because your major location now is going to probably be what's going to need the most of your money. Do you understand? Building the set, having a location, you're going to look for the location first, or maybe have an idea how much it will take to rent this location per day. Let's say it's 2 million per day, and you're going to film for, say, 14 days. Do you understand? You now put that on your budget and say, okay, plus or minus. Do you understand? It will take me this. Who are the actors that you're going to involve in this project? So sometimes, maybe the dysfunctional family, there's 20 of them. You want to mix it up, put some celebrities there, and some very up and coming, and then some people that are very in the middle. Do you understand? You call people, ask how much, let's say you want to put R&D as a father, how much is R&D going to charge me for this project? 30 million, okay, we put it there. If you're not going to get R&D, who is the closest person? Tata. You put it there. Do you understand? So like it's just for you to, like, you need to have like a preliminary budget. So your preliminary budget is not always your working budget. Do you understand? A lot of times your preliminary budget is like maybe 300 million. Your working budget might now actually be 170 million. Do you get? Because at the end of the day, you will get disappointed in, do you understand? you might want this particular actor, you're not getting this particular actor, you will get someone that is younger, or maybe that is not as experienced or doesn't have that star power that you need. Do you understand? So you're going to work basically with what you now have, and then that's what you use to create your working budget. So your working budget is, okay, I said here, an estimate of 500K per day for maybe my director. But you spoken to the director now, you negotiated with the person, and the person said, don't worry, I'll take 200K per day. So now that's your working budget for your director. Do you understand? A lot of times, there are some times that you might, even on your preliminary project, you might have like maybe 5M. When the step rate is now 10M. So you find a way to balance it out across every other thing. So if you have to under-negotiate with someone else and over-negotiate with someone else, you do it to make sure that it works for you as a producer. I know that when you're having negotiations with people, right? Let's say what you actually have for this person is like, say, 200,000 naira. This is just a figure, right? I would usually advise that you don't start negotiating from that 200,000 because it's like you're in the market. Do you understand? So imagine you're going to market to buy meat. You're not going to tell this person, give me meat 5,000 or give me meat 200,000. You first ask, how much is this meat? Do you get? No, I don't have this amount. No. You will give me for, do you understand? So a lot of times I don't advise people to go into negotiation with I have 500K for this role type thing. A lot of times, I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth, some people don't know their worth yet. So they might tell you 100,000 when you did what you have is 500K. You get? If you know the goodness of your heart, you cannot say, okay, nobody, I'll give it 100K, even though it says 100K that you have that you can collect. If you still want to price that person 100K, price the person. Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, your role as a producer is to minimize costs and maximizing profits or the returns from the film. And I'm not saying that you should cheat people. No. Again, it's negotiation, right? If the person agrees for this thing, make sure that you pay the person what the both of you agree on. Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, water is maybe 2 naira in this case, it's 5 naira in this case. Everybody knows how much they're going to be charging for whatever. So don't feel maybe when someone undercharges for what you already give an out of the goodness of your heart, pay an extra fee. But try your best as much as possible to pay what you negotiated. Do you understand? And so what? Okay. If you ask me a question that I don't know.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adesi. I'm an actor and filmmaker. So I have 2 questions, right?
Okay.
First one is about box office in Nigeria. So how do we trust, as a producer, right? How do you trust these numbers? Because I've heard stories circulating in the industry that a lot of these numbers are inflated, and oftentimes those numbers they put, oh, this was the ROI of this particular film. It's not actually, the figure. For some reasons, I don't know, I'm not sure what is what I heard, and it has been going on too many times. I feel like, okay, you're a producer, let me ask, how do you trust those box office numbers when they come out? And my second question is, so yesterday, Mr. Sele mentioned something about timeless pieces when it comes to filmmaking. I wanted to ask yesterday, but time had already gone. So, as a producer, right, what do you think the future of, so it kind of feels now that commercial films are being prioritized. For example, a script writer or a storyteller can pitch a story to the production desk, and you'll be like, this story might not sell because it doesn't look commercial enough to cater to the Nigerian audience, or what's what the stereotype of what Nigerian audience wants to consume, right? So when what do you think the future of those artistic films are? Because I feel like what is really trending now in Bollywood in the Nigerian market is quantity over quality, right? You can see that in YouTube, like YouTube producers can make 5 films in 1 week, and then they make money from those things. But then you see, yes, they can make like 5 things in 1 week. Like I was literally, so I was watching a little film, and it was just for research purposes. This particular actor with the same makeup, costume, and everything was on this film, and on another film she had the same makeup, costume, and hair. So apparently she left one set to quickly rush to the other set. So that's what happens, especially in Lagos, because they are trying to prioritize quantity over quality. So what is the future of artistic films in Nigeria? Are we eventually going to get to a place where we can rent arts and it will become, commercial, just like how we see in places like Hollywood? Thank you.
Okay. So very good questions actually. I'm going to start by answering the second one. And I'll answer first with a question. Do you think you have seen all the art films from Hollywood? Artistic films from Hollywood? Exactly my point. Nigeria, in as much as we make films 5 stories a day or 5 clinical a week, whatever it is, we have not still touched the hem of the garment of what people in America and India and China are making. Do you understand? And one thing that I would always say is find your crowd. I would use Emma Edosio as someone you should look up to, right? Emma Edosio doesn't make commercial films, but Emma Edosio, right? She doesn't make commercial films, but Emma is someone who is already getting very popular in the kind of films that she makes locally and internationally. Do you understand? So she has found her crowd. CJ Obasi does not make commercial films. Abbas Makama does not make commercial films. There's a lot of people that you can actually use. It's just that the people that make commercial loud films, they are more popular because they are loud. Do you understand? So it's just like, you just need to find your niche, stick to it, and your crowd will find you. Okay, what is commercial? Like, what do you mean by commercial? Because so the truth is that, okay, so A24, right? That's the name of the studio. They make a whole lot of art house films, but not everybody watches it in as much as sometimes they go mainstream, and that mainstreamness is not mainstream for the whole world. There are some people, I mean, who have watched Get Out English film, but not everybody. There are some people's hands that are down. How many people have watched it? How many people have watched Us? How many people have watched? You've watched all of them. That's because that's the kind of film that you like. So that's your tribe. But not everybody has watched it. Do you understand? So when you find your own niche, your crowd will find you. A24, they found their own crowd. CJ Obasi is doing something with Sorry 16, where I think now they're going to start doing like, impact labs, training, and they have like their film festival and everything. So your crowd would find you. When you talk about commercialized, these people still sell their films to, it's just that most times people might not want to go into the cinema to watch these films. Do you understand? But then some people might still want to go into the cinema to watch this film. So just know that if Funke Akindele is making 1.4 billion, you might make 30 million because your crowd is not plenty. But it doesn't mean that your film is not commercial. Do you understand? Because you have sold it. Once you got to the point where you're selling your products now, it is now commercialized. Do you understand? So you just need to find your niche, find your crowd. It's not instant gratification, it's gradual. Like how I mentioned Emma Edosio, you don't know who Emma Edosio is, but she has a whole tribe of people that if Emma is coming to Abuja to screen her film, maybe Kasala, City, or now when Nigeria happens, a lot of people are going to gather to watch Emma's films. Do you understand? So yeah, just find your crowd.
Can I just comment on that? You can't, sometimes we wish we can, but you can't eat your cake and also have it. There are stories that are very queer in the way that for most audience, film is an escape. That's why forget films. Influencers are making more money than filmmakers these days, the skit makers. Because a Nigerian on the go would watch Oga Sabinus for money tonight. Nothing to think about, they just want to escape. So that's why commercial films are commercial films. I want to tell you something that there are box office, they call them, there are films that will never, they don't even make the money they used to make the film back, but they win Oscars. So you can't, if you make an art house film, you have a goal. You're probably trying to win an Oscar. There are Oscar directors and there are commercial directors. Someone like Tyler Perry, for instance, he's not trying to go there and compete with Steven Spielberg, right? Because he wants to make his film, he wants to make his money, he wants to go. So Tyler Perry is not going to come and ask us why all the films he's making is not winning awards. And then at the end of the day, too, like Steven Spielberg will say, do one for them and do one for yourself. So if you want to make money, from the beginning you have to know that for your story to make money, you might need to put Brother Shaggy inside, whether you like Brother Shaggy or not, because you want to make money. Like she was talking about distributors. Some distributors will tell you that who are you casting, right? So if you want to make money, if you're not casting this guy, we're not going to back you. It's really as simple as so. If you choose to do an act, Emma Odosio will not force Film One to distribute her film because they will not agree, right? There will be this, put this actor, don't put this actor. There are YouTube faces. There are films, no matter how good your film is, there are some faces you don't put. No YouTube watcher, audience will watch your film. Your film is like only your family members. So that's why there's repetition. Like you said, if you know where your film is going to, you know who to cast, you know the kind of director to use, you know the DPs and the kind of camera to use. So these are the decisions that you take. If you make an art house film, I know someone that her films, she makes these films and they only screen at museums around the world. She makes so much, they pay her so much money. If you go to the Met, that's where her films are showing. That is a Nigerian film too. But if you are in Nigeria, you watch the film, you will not understand it. But she makes this film for these people and she makes her money. She doesn't, if I call her name, you don't even know who she is. Because she has found her niche, she has found her people. And yeah, sometimes it crosses. You make one very art film that seeps into mainstream, but most of the time it's not going to happen.
Okay, so you spoke about box office numbers. Yeah, you spoke about box office numbers and how to trust some of these numbers that you hear of. The truth is, you don't. Right? Because like I said, your film is a product. If I tell you that I make puff puff, right? And that I supply to 200 supermarkets in the whole of Abuja. You know that I'm trying to market my puff puff. You've not, checked whether I'm being credible or anything. But you just go and tell somebody else that this girl makes the maddest puff puff in the whole of Abuja. You do not believe that she sells this. Do you understand? But the truth is that it works for me. Whether I'm lying to you, I'm telling you the truth. Do you understand? Some of these figures, yes, they might be true, they might not be true, but focus on what your own goal is. Don't listen to all of those rumors. Okay, fine, it's okay, accumulation, make the 1.4 billion in the cinema, Run at me if you easy. If you think say it, you go make your own figure and then say that it's not up to 1.4 billion that you made. Do you understand? But people understand. And one thing I would always say is that when it hasn't really happened to you and for you, it's very easy for you to believe that there's something else this person is doing to achieve this thing. But nobody understands the kind of star power African really has, or any other person that's making such numbers from the industry. If Tony Abraham makes a film today, right, and walks into the cinema in Ibadan, first of all, people might even be paying just to buy tickets to watch that movie or just to see her. Do you understand? So, like, a lot of people don't have the kind of star power some of these action producers have. So it's very easy to come and assume that they are not making, some of this money. There's also rumors that people use their own money to buy these movie tickets to inflate the price and make sure that people are going to come and watch. If that's what you want to do to make sure that you're going to get your Netflix distribution, do it. Do you understand? But just the game is the game, basically. So I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you guys for listening.
Sorry, I wanted to contribute to the conversation or the question she asked about art house films and being commercial or being mainstream. I think for the industry that we have in Nigeria, Hollywood, a common misconception that people have is that the industry is truly mainstream. And I'm explaining. For the films you think make waves, or the particular type of films or genre of films, let's say the comedy films, the romance films, I promise you, it is not as popular as you think. If you check, for instance, if you check the list of guys, the top 20 guys or Nigerian films, you will see that they have a common theme. Either a similar director, similar screenwriter, or similar cast for all these films. And if you check the number of films we have in every year in cinemas, for instance, if you're talking about box office numbers, the number of films we have in cinemas every year, and the number of films that break even, by break even I mean films that make back the budget spent, we do not have the plots. Then, when you now come to films that actually make profits on the budget they had, they are also not a lot. When the December period, a lot of films are going to be out in cinemas between December and January. Then, let's say by March next year, check the box office numbers of these films that were released within the same period. You also notice the same thing, that the same director, someone like Jack constant, doing Abraham and all that. The point I'm trying to make now is these people that decide to make a film that they think sell have their work cut out for them because the industry is not as, should I say, decentralized as we think it is. So if these ones are having it difficult, you as an art house filmmaker who probably thinks that this is not a popular type of film that people want to watch, you have your own work cut out for you. And it's a process as well. You cannot forget that they don't wake up one day and start making the video she's making and also she has been at this for, if I'm not mistaken, over 20 years now. Had a career debut, I think it was in 2008 with Jennifer. I can't remember. So she started out as an actor, became a filmmaker in 2008, and she didn't make her first video until, I think everybody knows Jennifer, right? That was her first video. So when you consider all these things, then you understand that the industry is not favorable to anybody at all. And for forget that themselves who makes this money, what's the making this money, as consistent level, as a level of work she puts in. Ask anyone who has worked with her, they tell you the type of person she is as a person. The best way to describe that woman is that she's a force. So it takes a lot to get to that. So it does mean that you as an actor filmmaker, you have to put in 10 times, maybe 100 times to work that.
Very much. I will have to apologize for the noise. Unfortunately, the people next to us are not the most considerate neighbors, but just to salvage as much as we can, I would appreciate it if we move a bit forward. I think that should help us mitigate a lot of it. Please break the round of applause for her.